Well, hello internets, here we are. I guess it's this time of year where our weather starts to change. We lose the crispness of the fall and we start to slide into winter. And yeah, welcome to our vlog. So, here we go. Well, we had already lost the fall weather. The leaves were gone probably a month ago. We already had our first snowstorm. However, most of that snow had already melted. We were just back to a little bit of cold, frost, little bit of ice, things like that. However, with the upcoming forecast, they are forecasting more snow. They are forecasting temperatures to be minus 35 Celsius, which, is average for the beginning parts of winter. It can and probably will be getting much colder the closer we get to the end of the year and into the new year. However, right now it is fairly cold. I myself am so glad that I have no outdoor type job anymore. I myself are so glad not to be working outdoors anymore. I remember for years I had an outdoor kind of job where, yeah, I'd be outside for the winter, I'd be cold. It's kind of, you got used to it. You learned how to dress for the conditions. You learned, a certain stage of numb. You can't really get much colder than that. Losing feelings in your fingers and toes were kind of part of the day. Having to dress in layers, good quality clothes in layers that were breathable, that didn't cause you to sweat, were kind of the key. You didn't want to spend much time indoors, whether it was inside the warehouse or inside of a shack, because you'd end up getting hot, and then when you went back outside you'd feel the cold. And even when I was doing the driving job, I kept the heater of the truck on low, just bare enough to keep the windows clear, because I didn't want to get too hot myself, because I knew the next stop I'd be outside unloading freight, so I'd be getting cold again. Looking at the weather that we had this summer, we had a lot of rain, a lot of wet, a lot of stormy, cloudy skies. And looking at the weather we had this fall, with the leaves coming in early like they did and then hanging around, I knew winter was coming, and it probably is not going to be a mild winter like it has in past years. Past years we've had very little snow compared to what we had. I don't remember when we last had a brown Christmas or green Christmas. I think that was probably a few years ago, well over 10. But most of the time we don't have a lot of super cold until after the new year. So having minus 35 this early in the season hopefully is not a what the winter's going to be like. But living where we're living, we do get winter, we do get snow, and I'm not talking about minus 25 either, and snow that comes and melts in a day. Our winters can arrive in September, October, and hang around until late May, early June. They have done that in the past. They have come in October cold, like minus 35, and stayed all the way through, and only got colder as it went, like minus 50s, low to high 50s. This is Celsius, of course, so however that converts into Fahrenheit, but whatever it is really, really cold. And even in May, as things are warming up, there has been more snow in May as the trees are starting to get their leaves. And then that's when you have branches that break, trees that snap from the weight of the wet snow. This year it gave us a bit of warning to button up your summer and fall projects that weren't done, because winter's on its way. I remember sitting here and hearing the leaves outside, people walking in the leaves, the crunch under my feet when I was walking the dog, and thinking, these leaves are pretty dry for this time of year. And well, that's why we were having a semi early winter, starting to fold up, starting to fold in. I remember whatever it was, 2011, when I built the shed in the backyard. It was probably late October, early November when I was doing that project, and there was no snow, there was no frost, there was no snow. Had a little bit of leaves, especially toward the end of the project, but nothing like this. And even later on, we still didn't have snow until well after I had completed that project. I am so glad that I was able to retain use of the truck, because I had no idea what I would have done without a vehicle. I know we have a grocery store close, and I could have walked to the grocery store and brought groceries back, especially living here where I'm living now. But where I was living before, there was no grocery store within walking distance. And even this fall, when I thought I was going to be without the truck again, I had everything planned out, but things have a way of working themselves out eventually. Sometimes in life we don't understand how things go or how things work and why things work out, but they do. We've had a few dry years, and even last summer was a dry summer for the farmers. And I'm hoping this winter we get a ton of snow with a very nice gradual warm up in the spring, so all that melting snow doesn't run off and run away. It soaks into where we need it to go. Because, well, really, it's the farmers right now that are holding things together. The oil money has, that was a big part of our economy, has been took away by rules and regulations that have been put in place by our government. So the oil patch money that was here for decades is almost gone in places. And we had a rough year, I think the year before, for the farmers, and a rough year last year for the farmers. And we really can't afford to have very many rough years before we start seeing more issues with, well, with farms, right? We already are seeing issues, and we start having trouble with our food supply, we're going to have huge problems that ordering off of online sources aren't going to solve the food. Where do you think they get the food from? They don't have a replicator machine in their back warehouse to make jugs of milk. Make pork chops. All that has to come from farmers somewhere. And all these people that think that they don't need farmers to survive, they've got a wake-up call coming, because at one point everything is touched by a farmer's hand, whether it's through growing or through harvesting or through the shipping. It all gets touched by human hands. We are in a delicate balance here. We have experienced some things in these last few years that have been directly caused by us not paying attention to what's going on, by us being complacent to things that are going on, and by us not holding those accountable that are in charge and making bad choices. Allowing them to run the circus without being checked causes huge problems in the long term. We can't fix this by having good winters. It has to be a complete overhaul. We can't fix this by ignoring these problems. But having a better winter can go a long way to at least extending things for another year. But that's been a few things that's been on my mind. I thought I would share them. It is what it is, and around we go. And as always, thanks for watching Maxwell's Vlogs. Comment, subscribe, and enjoy.